all for joining us today for this emergency board meeting. I wanted to take a quick roll call to make sure all the board members are on the call. I know we can see a few of you, but not everybody might have a video. So if you're a board member and you have a video and you'd like to join us by video, feel free to turn on your webcam. But otherwise, I think I'm going to go down the list of board members real quick and just make sure that everyone is here. So if you could answer here so that we know that you're available. Julie Spear, and you might have to unmute yourself in order to talk. Julie?
Sorry, I'll unmute. I think I have
Yeah,
to do
let's
it
unmute for a second.
1 second. And if I could have everyone actually self-mute themselves for
that
roll
will definitely
call.
help.
And I'm going to unmute here. So please, everyone, self-mute. I'm going to unmute all. Okay, so now we can.
Okay. Julie Spear.
Here.
Donnie Lewis.
I think
we're having some issues getting him back on, so.
Okay, cool. Jenny Yoakum.
Here.
Rick Fernandez. Daniel Guerrero.
Here.
Lori Hinkie.
Here.
Bradley Miller.
Here.
Donna Montemayor.
Here.
Chip Thornsberg.
Here.
Suzette Tiarina.
Suzette is on.
And Rick Tisch.
Here.
Okay, awesome. I think we have everybody. We were working on getting Donnie set back up, but otherwise I think we have everyone on the call. You should have received, and you can also access through the GoTo training that we have set up, the board agenda for this meeting. And this was an emergency meeting based on the governor's proclamation of emergency disaster. And what we wanted to have the board review this afternoon is a proposed new emergency rule. It would be Board Rule 291.30, medication limits. You should have gotten that by email, as well as if you didn't have access there, you can also get it through the documents that are provided with this meeting. But we received numerous reports following the announcement yesterday that certain drug products might help in the treatment of the coronavirus. And there are individuals that are prescribing the medication inappropriately. And so we are trying to limit that in order to make sure the people that do need these medications have them available to them. It's used to treat things like rheumatoid arthritis and lupus and other conditions currently. And so people that are on those medications need to have access to those. It seems like people are trying to start hoarding these medications, just like they've been hoarding toilet paper and water. So we have the rule there for you, and I'm going to read it just so that we can make sure the people that might be joining by phone can know what's on there as well. But it says no prescription or medication order for chloroquine or hydroxychloroquine may be dispensed or distributed unless all of the following apply. The prescription or medication order bears a written diagnosis from the prescriber consistent with evidence for its use. The medication or medication order is limited to no more than a 14-day supply unless the patient was previously established on the medication prior to the effective date of the and no refills may be permitted unless a new prescription or medication order is furnished. This is in conjunction, it's consistent with what we've seen from other states doing already. And I did have a suggestion that we received prior to this meeting that we might want to add mefloquine and possibly erythromycin to this, because we've heard reports that those drugs were also being considered or used in conjunction with these as well. So we might want to add those to the list. And then I think there was also a recommendation with regard to making sure this applied to bulk medication as well, but I think the distribution might cover that. I'm not sure, but anyways, those are some of the just suggestions we received. If you'd like to make those changes, I think we could potentially add those to this rule. And then because this is emergency, if you would vote to approve this rule, it would become effective immediately, and then that's what would, pharmacies would have to do for that. So does anyone have any questions? I think what we'd like people to do is, if you will raise your hand on the side there should be a way to indicate you want to raise your hand, and then Shada can unmute you so we don't have many people trying to talk at one time.
Okay, and I apologize. I'm just going to go in order. So I've got Chip here first. And then if you'll unmute yourself as well, should be able to speak.
I just wanted to make sure. So when a normal prescription is going to have the diagnosis on that prescription as well. We're not requiring doctors to do something special for this.
There are provisions in the laws and the rules that say that a prescription is supposed to have a diagnosis on there. There's a sort of a loophole that says unless you don't think that it needs to be on there. So most of the time, doctors don't indicate that. I've probably rarely gotten a prescription that says this is why it's being prescribed, but it is already in the rules.
Is there a way for us to communicate that back out to medical people that they're going to need to do that moving forward?
Yeah, we would share this with the medical board, and they could then provide it to their physicians. And the pharmacists that are on the call might be able to tell me. I think this is not something that is used. It's not something that you see a prescription for every day or frequently. So it's not something prescribed, just left and right. But we are hearing pharmacies that, in just one morning have already had, 9, 15 prescriptions for this particular drug, which I think for when I worked, it was very unusual. I mean, that was a long time ago, but you didn't get that, you didn't fill prescriptions for this, every day. So.
Okay, and it looks like we have a few other people with their hands raised. Donna, Jenny, Rick Tish, and Rick Fernandez, and I believe I have unmuted all of you. So we'll see how that works. So everyone should be unmuted who has their hand raised.
Okay, Donna?
Okay, so can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. First question was, when you mentioned if we wanted to add erythromycin, did you mean azithromycin, or did you want to do the whole class of?
I thought I said the azithromycin, because I think that's the one I'm hearing is the issue, but yeah, since y'all are the ones in the pharmacy, y'all can say what you think would be appropriate.
I think that's appropriate, is to have the azithromycin. Then my other comment is with regards to the diagnosis and why we feel that that's important. As of the other two diagnoses, for the most part, that are the most prevalent, being the RA and the lupus, the prescriptions that are coming in that we're seeing are written if the dosage would be for RA or lupus, but yet it's for prophylactic use, which is not indicated at all, or it's for office use, or it's for I'm writing for my whole family. So I think the diagnosis is important just particularly in this situation. As a normal thing, I wouldn't say let's make every doctor write a diagnosis, but just because it's used right now, I feel like it's important.
And, you know, as I mentioned, this is what other states have already started doing as well across the country, because it's not something just being seen here in Texas with this people trying to get the medication, because there's been reports that they think this might work. It's not even been proven or tested that it will work. So I agree. I think it is something that would be important, and the pharmacist should know that it's being prescribed for something that is indicated. So I think you said that, was it Rick, you had a question also? Fernandez, Rick Fernandez, did you have a question? I think you have to unmute there.
Rick, I think you might be self-muted.
Yeah, you need to unmute yourself.
Sorry.
That's
Am I
okay.
unmuted now?
Yeah, you're good.
We can make this super complicated, and we don't want to do that, right? So I think that we have to kind of give guidance to the pharmacists, at least, and everybody, that they need to ask the purpose, because 14 days, right? Is that what the prophylaxis is, or versus someone who's on RA, we're taking it monthly? I mean, I don't know how you put that in the law or anything, but it'll make it too complicated. But do you want the 14-day to specify for prophylaxis then, and leave everything else as is, or what do you want to do?
Donna, you were shaking your head. I mean, what? Oh,
So
she went away.
we don't necessarily want it. We don't want it for prophylaxis, because that's what they're doing today. We want it just confirmed or presumptive. There is zero evidence that doing it prophylactically would be appropriate, and there are lots of side effects with this product that it could actually be very unsafe for people to use this just, to try to prevent it.
So would we want to specify that this would be for in the direction on the diagnosis for active diagnosis, or is it too complicated now?
I would leave that to Kirsten and Allison, Megan, but I think that just putting the diagnosis, that your diagnosis would have to be presumptive or positive, that would take care of it.
Yeah.
So, and it has to be, if somebody's already on it, then they can get any day supply. It would just be someone new that would be put on it, would be limited to that 14-day supply right now.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Jenny, I think Shada said you had a question. I'm trying to remember the name she said.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I have a question regarding the scope of practice. We've already had dentists calling in wanting us to fill it. So are we can we word it in our rule where it needs to be prescriber within their usual scope?
Well, I mean, that would be, I think, something that even without all of this consideration, if it was not something that a dentist should be prescribing, that should take care of itself already.
Okay, I've had some of some local pharmacists reach out and ask that question too.
Yeah, I mean, that is already covered.
Okay.
Who else was on the questions, Shada?
It looks like Julie's on. Yes, and I'll try to unmute board members and board staff. If you'll just remember to self-mute, I can always mute all if we get a lot of feedback.
Yeah, so I had a lot of the same questions about the scope of practice, and I had been given the same thing. It's already in the rules so that they could go back and do it. I just didn't know if we're going to communicate this out and it's going to go to the medical board, if it was not a good review for them, that it has to be in the normal scope of practice.
Okay.
And it looks like Bradley Miller also has a question.
Okay. Brad?
Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
With regards to the hydroxychloroquine, my hospital ordered a bunch yesterday. Just to let you know, the wholesalers are already allocating, so we only got a partial in, and so I don't know how this is going to affect all the retail pharmacies and all the other pharmacies out there in the state, much less the nation. So everybody's jumping on this product.
Yes. Yeah, and we've heard that as well, that it's hard to get already, that people are already ordering it up and it's difficult to get. So
You mentioned, I believe, also methacquin. Did I hear that correctly?
mefloquine, Lariam is what I was told earlier today is another product that's being used.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Does any other board members have a question?
This is Rick Tish. I do. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. Hey, with my limited background on drugs, but I did call my insurance friends and pharmacists, the PBMs on this stuff. On the, if I'm pronouncing this right, hydroxychloroquine, it comes in 200 milligrams, and the chloroquine comes in 250 and 500. So are they going to have a limit on the dosage amount for the chloroquine? Or is it going to be either one, 250 or 500 for 14 days? It was just a question I have because they come in dosage. So if we're going to limit it to 14 days, doesn't matter what the dosage is? And then the other question I have is on the medical or the medication limitations on A, when it says the prescription or medication order bears a written diagnosis from the prescriber consistent with the evidence for its use. So so in other words, the doctor writes out that you need either one of these drugs for COVID-19, that it would be rejected. What is that? I don't understand what that means. I just, for clarification. And again, I'm not a pharmacist, so this is new to me.
That would be my understanding. So right now there's no evidence that it is used or to treat COVID-19. So, it's used for things like rheumatoid arthritis and lupus. And so if it had, an indication that's, and somebody can tell me if I'm saying this wrong, but that if it has that indication, then, it could be dispensed and somebody's already been on it, it can be dispensed. But if it had a COVID-19 was the diagnosis, then this would not allow it to be dispensed.
But it would all change with CDC rules or CDC guidance.
Sure, yeah. If somebody came out and said, we have evidence that this is working, then that would change that.
Yeah, I think that's what Rick's question was alluding to.
Yeah, that could certainly change if that were to come out.
So are these prescriptions then like whatever they call it, J code or ICD not 10? Are they cross-referenced to that when this prescription is being filled? Because does it have to go through like a pre-authorization, or is it just they have a prescription and it says you need these drugs, fill it? That's what I was asking about the diagnosis, and then if it's red flagged.
It wouldn't be necessarily a pre-authorization.
There's none of that on that. Okay.
Anything like that.
And the last question is, what are the two other drugs that you added, the methoquin and the malarigram, whatever it's called?
Mefloquine is for malaria. The brand name I think is Lariam.
Okay.
And then azithromycin is also, if you've gotten a Z-Pak before, it's an antibiotic.
Okay.
And again, the real pharmacist out there can chime in
It's
and help
spot
me out.
on.
Okay. So are those two recommended that we add those to the list? Who's recommending those?
I had some conversations with different people this morning, different pharmacists and pharmacy groups, and that was their recommendation to add those based on what they're seeing in the pharmacies and the what's happening with those drugs.
All right. I yield my time back to you.
Okay. Jada, did any other board members have a question?
No one has their hands raised, so I think we're set.
Okay. Kirsten?
Oh, Kirsten, let me see here.
Not on, hold on, we can't hear you.
Okay, go ahead, Kirsten.
I just wanted to let you know that Donnie is on the call, but he couldn't get it logged into the go to training, so he is able to hear the call.
Okay, great. Did he have any questions?
He did not. I asked him to let me know.
Okay, all right. Well, if you all don't have any other questions, then if someone would like to unmute themselves and make a motion that we, if you want to adopt, or I guess it's to adopt, right, Megan? Okay, to adopt this rule on this emergency basis, and if you want to include the 2 additional drugs or not, if you want to make that motion.
This is Rick Tisch. I'll make the motion to adopt 291.30 medication limitations, but also to include those 2 other drugs, the methylcobalamin and the malarium.
Yes. Okay.
Second.
Okay, and Donna seconds. Okay. I guess the best way to vote would be maybe just to do it by roll call and do verbal that way. So I'll just go down the list and you can say, I guess, yay or nay. And then just do it that way. So I'm going to go down the list. Julie?
Yay.
Donnie? Is he giving you a yay or a yes? Yes, okay. Jenny?
Yes.
Rick Fernandez?
Yes.
Daniel? Unmute yourself, Daniel.
Yes.
Lori? Unmute yourself, Lori. Did we lose you? We'll come back. Brad?
Yes.
Donna? Chip?
Yay.
Yes. Suzette? She's on the call with you, right, Kirsten? And yes, and Rick Tisch?
Yes.
Okay, and then let's see, we didn't get Lori. Is she unmuted? And you might have to unmute yourself in order to give us a yay, or you can maybe chat in.
Yeah, I think let me enable chat options.
Okay. But we have a majority, and we'll confirm that she's a yes as well. So we can go ahead and we will get this sent to the Texas Register. It becomes effective today, and we'll get it out on our website as well. So we'll get all that taken care of. We did have on our agenda as well, just to go over. There's been some questions, and I think y'all have been asking about, waivers as a result of the governor's disaster declaration. And we have been in communication with the governor's office quite a bit. We have posted on our website those things that we are allowing. The one thing that I know is already out there is the 30-day emergency refill dispensing. This is something we've had since, I think we did this right after Hurricane Katrina. It became an issue, and pharmacies have been asking about that. We have also, we will be waiving pre-inspections for right now, as well as Class S pharmacies that need to be inspected in order to get their pharmacies renewed. We will be waiving those because we are not able to get out and do the inspections ourselves, or our vendors are not able to get the inspections done. We will allow, right now you have a pilot project going on that is for automated dispensing systems, and we will expand that pilot to allow other pharmacies to use that same system as well. It's often referred to as a Medivel system, and it would allow for the storage of bulk drugs in the automated dispensing machine. And then it would help so that patients did not have to go, if they were at the ER or whatever and had been diagnosed, they could go straight to this machine and not have to go deal with people, keeping them out of the pharmacies. So we are letting that occur. We also, with regard to patient counseling, have a waiver that the pharmacist does not have to provide the verbal counseling. They can direct them to a phone number or call them in order to provide that counseling. Again, trying to limit the exposure and keeping people, with the social distancing, trying to help with that. Pharmacies are required to take annual inventories, and a lot of them take them here in the next month or so, but we would waive the requirement for notarization of those. We require them to get notarized within about, I think it's 3 days of the inventory. So that notarization requirement is being waived. The inventory requirement's not being waived, but just the notarization. We also are posting, and I think this will be ready by Monday on our website, we will allow emergency licensing of pharmacists if they are reciprocating from another state. They do have to have, the way that the rule is currently structured, they do have to have that license in the other state. And we have pharmacists who are in progress right now trying to get licensed here in Texas, but because the testing centers are shut down, so they cannot go to the testing center. So we would allow them to get this temporary emergency license for pharmacists. We also allow it for technicians. Not sure that it is quite as helpful for them, since they would need to be registered in another state, but it would allow them to come to Texas. And then we are also implementing our procedures for emergency remote pharmacy locations. And again, those should all be up on our website, I believe, by Monday. I know Misty Anderson in licensing is working really hard to get those all set up and ready to go. But we've got rules in place that allow those, so those will be coming. And then another thing that is, just to kind of let you know, is the Texas Medical Board has issued and gotten a waiver with regard to telemedicine, and they are not requiring physicians to, or they're allowing, I guess, physicians to issue refills on pain medications to patients when they are being treated by telemedicine. And they have a whole guidance on their website. And DEA also has issued guidance as well with regard to most people are asking about Schedule II medications. So those are very helpful out there. We're also asking for some additional help with renewals and extending renewal time for pharmacies, pharmacist technicians, since those are becoming due, and there's issues with people getting renewals taken care of, and also technician trainees, and probably extending those technician trainee timeframes, since it's a 2-year registration and it cannot be renewed. The tech training testing centers are also shut down, and so they can't test. So we're trying to get help on those. As we get these, we're working on putting them up on our website. I was starting to get working on these this morning when all this issues with the chloroquine and hydroxychloroquine and everything came up, and so that kind of halted that process a little bit. But I know we've got someone working on getting those documents ready, and so I'm hoping that possibly today, if not today, maybe over the weekend or first thing Monday, that guidance will be back up on the website for pharmacies to follow. Does anybody have any?
You mentioned the CPR certification.
That's what I was going to ask.
Oh, yes. And we also have a waiver for CPR. So I know people are not able to go to CPR because nobody's offering a CPR class. So there is also an extension for that for immunizers. So if someone's not an immunizer, they can't, they would need to meet the requirements to become an immunizer. So it wouldn't necessarily help them. So like, I'm not an immunizer, I couldn't become one, but someone that already is one, and if their CPR expires at the end of this month, they can continue to give immunizations. So hopefully that's helpful to the pharmacist.
So is that in the ask, or that's already approved?
That is approved.
Thank you.
Sorry, I left that one out. Thank you.
And in addition to that, we were going to ask for the accelerated refills that be allowed for patients under the age of 18. We've been asked to do that by a representative's office.
Yeah, well, we've had a couple of requests on that, but so that's, I think, already at the governor's office. Accelerated refills, you can do that if the patient has refills up to a 90-day supply, and so people are trying to limit the number of times people are coming to the pharmacy. This, kids can't get it, and there's psych meds aren't included, so there's several things that are restricted, and so we've had asks from different groups to get that waived. So that's another one we're waiting for. We have a link on the front page at the top of our website, and it goes to then our coronavirus page, and all of the information is there about things that we're doing and things that are allowed for the pharmacies. There's guidance on pharmacies compounding hand sanitizer. There is information about pharmacies reusing the personal protective equipment and the gloves and masks and all those things when they're doing store compounding. That came from USP. There's guidance on that. So there's quite a few things that we've put out there. So if you have people asking, they can go there and look for information.
Could I ask you a question, Allison, real quick?
Mm-hmm.
Walk me through the consultation portion again. I missed the details. I want to make sure that we're not doing anything incorrect. If the patient, the pharmacist wants to consult him by phone, does he make that offer, or can someone else make that offer? How does that work out?
You can even put the sticker on there that says, here, call us at this phone number. I think that would be fine. Kind of whatever works best for your pharmacy. Reaching out to them by phone, asking them to call you back. I think we would go either way. If pharmacies have drive-through, I think it's great to direct people to, limit them to being inside the pharmacy coming in, especially if they're, sick, if you can encourage them to use a drive-through. I know not everyone has a drive-through, but those are good options. But then offering that call, so people are not wanting to, especially some counseling spaces get tight tight areas and not being in that close proximity to someone else. So,
And the last thing on the CPR extension, is that for monthly, or how far is that extension for?
So the governor's information that we received says that, I was going to try to pull it up here real quick, says that the waivers are in place until terminated by the governor or until this disaster declaration is lifted. So
Okay.
it, you know, there's not really like a specific time frame. If, you know, I'm sure once things get better, the governor's office will say, you know, the disaster's over, or they could just say, we're not going to allow this particular waiver anymore if they feel like they want to terminate it.
Got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Donna, turn your mic on.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Just to clarify, the waiver on counseling has not been approved yet, but we are hoping that it will be approved by Monday.
No, the waiver's been approved.
So the waiver is approved, so that is
The waiver is,
they
so
can.
yeah, it's enforced. We just don't have anything on our website, so nobody except maybe the few people on this phone call and a few people that I've maybe talked to know about it. But y'all can start sending that out, giving guidance on that, and we will have something hopefully pretty soon.
Okay.
Does anyone else have any comments or questions?
Great job to you and the staff and Kirsten and everybody.
Well, it's been a very interesting first week. Thank you for that. And we've got everybody, I think, in our office is working remotely. We have a few people going into the office. We're still getting mail, so we need to check the mail, and people are sending in payments and things like that. So we're getting, making sure we get those payments processed. If anyone is needing to send something to the office, just for anyone out there, if you would email it to us, please don't mail it to us. It would make our lives much easier right now, especially. That would really help. But everybody's set up remotely. We've got, we use our computers. We're doing meetings by phone all day long. Seems like it's working relatively well. Everybody's getting adjusted to that. So just all kind of trying to keep it all going.
Well, we appreciate it.
All right. Well, I guess if no one else has any other questions,
Motion to adjourn.
We can adjourn. Yeah.
All right. Thanks so much.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Take care.